drinking, and lust. No man can match me in these things. I am the god of chits and wine.
Maybe it's the Big K Cola, but I'm
No, that's straight alcohol. It's not the soda. I remember the days, our college days, of I could only afford prestige rum from a plastic bottle. There was like $8 or something for a handle of it.
Kids at home, don't ever drink alcohol that comes in a plastic bottle. Like it's just not a good choice.
Woo, oh man, that's good. That's good rum though. I like that rum. Welcome to the Buzz Recap Game of Thrones series that we've started. This is going to be Game of Thrones season 3. And I think we're just going to stick to one season per live stream because
I think that's all we can do.
Yeah, unless I have 5 hours, I don't think I can get through 2.
There's just too much.
Yeah, because we like to go into a lot of detail. But
which means you like to go into a lot of detail,
right.
And I occasionally am funny.
Right. Which, by the way, so you've not seen all of Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. You've seen a lot of highlights that I've shown you.
So strap me to a chair, Clockwork Orange style, and but you've seen season 1 of House of the Dragon, which is going to come out next month, right? Season 2 being
right, and we are going to do a season 1 Buzz recap for that as well. But if you're here for the first time, first of all, go watch seasons 1 and 2 if you don't know what the fuck's going on.
Second, make sure you have a beverage.
Yes. So we're gonna get a little buzzed and talk about Game of Thrones. None of this is the story as it takes place in the book. So if you're a huge Game of Thrones book fan, I appreciate that. But that's not what we're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
So please avoid being like, well, actually, did you know that Mary Maz in the book there were demons in the tent? And it's like, first of all, yes, but also that's not what we're talking about.
Also, we don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Also, this is not going to be like completely accurate. It's going to be in our typical irreverent and profane style.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure there'll be missed details. And if I miss something big, it's probably because I'm going to do it in a different, like I'm going to introduce something later on.
Either that or he got drunk and skipped over that line in his notes.
But put it in the comments, and if I missed it, I'll mention it.
How much inspiration did Game of Thrones take from the Lord of the Rings?
All of it.
Yeah,
all of it.
Like George R.R. Martin has this famous quote where he's asking like, "What was Aragorn's tax policy?" Which tells you all you need to know about George R.R. Martin.
Yeah, he is a massive Tolkien fanboy.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell when you read his books. They're
pity he's not as good a writer as Tolkien.
He's not, and I don't try to shit on George R. R. Martin because I know there are people out there that are so invested in those books, and I totally get it. They're very well executed, good fantasy books.
Mm-hmm.
Like I cannot argue with that. I just don't like his prose very much. It doesn't matter though, yeah, because we're not talking about that. Remember?
Yep, we're not talking about the books.
So as I did the last time, we're gonna take a quick stock on where everyone is, where we left them in the last season.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we're gonna start north.
So we're way up north. King Fuck Up or Mr. Fuck Up, whatever his name is, he was pissing his pants while a bunch of zombies were walking past him.
Oh, Samwell.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's
his name is Sam. Okay.
Yes, Samwell. So they're at the Fist of the First Men. It did end with that.
Mm-hmm.
I figured this is a good place to make the distinction between White Walkers, which are like the generals,
mm-hmm.
and Whites, which are the mindless zombies.
Okay.
So these guys can think and they have their own agency and everything. These
guys can't.
Yeah, they just run at things and try to run into them.
Sure.
So it's him and a bunch of the brothers from the Night Watch and J.R. Mormont, who's the Lord Commander of the Night Watch. In Skirling Pass, we have, and there'll be a couple of these people I don't introduce right now because they come in later. So we have Jon Snow,
who famously knows nothing.
Yes, and by the way, that line comes from his girlfriend or his love interest, Ygritte.
Girlfriend. Just call her a girlfriend.
Well, remember, he's a man of the Night's Watch, so he's not allowed to do that kind of stuff.
He can have a girlfriend, he just can't fuck her.
Yeah, I don't
think the rules are so technically he can't get married and sire children. Okay. So I don't know.
I mean, having a girlfriend is not getting married.
Yeah. And also the funny thing about the Night's Watch is they're like, oh, you broke your vows. And like one of them is like, okay, we all go down to Mole Town, which is like a close to little town, and we all fuck whores down there. So like, you just calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
So Winterfell's been like taken over and then retaken over.
Okay.
So Bran is on the run. Bran Stark, one of Ned Stark's kids.
Well, on the roll, does he have a wheelchair, or does Hodor?
Well, Hodor carries him.
Okay.
So it's Bran and his wolf Summer, little baby Rickon and his wolf Shaggy Dog, the wildling Osha, and then Hodor, his carry around guy. On the way north is you know who I forgot to put right here? I forgot to put Gendry.
Oh.
That super hot Robert Baratheon's bastard son.
The guy you only portray as shirtless?
So these guys were on their way to Winterfell with Yoren, the Wandering Crow, but they ran into some guys. He died. So it's just them. They're still trying to get north of them. At Harrenhal, you have Robb, who's waging war against the crown. And then you have, making their way back to King's Landing, are Brienne and Jaime Lannister. Jaime Lannister was a prisoner of Robb's. His mother, much to his enragement, freed him under the condition that he would have her daughters sent back, right? And Brienne is keeping him prisoner to keep him honest, right?
Sure.
In King's Landing, Joffrey Baratheon is king. After the Battle of Blackwater, his grandfather Tywin saved them pretty much at the Battle of Blackwater.
The Hand of the King,
yes,
Tywin.
Yes, so he's back as Hand of the King. His mother Cersei. You remember that there was a surprise alliance between the Lannisters and the Tyrells. So Loras Tyrell, Renly's former lover, is there. And then you have Tyrion, who was the Hand of the King, isn't no longer. His bodyguard, Bronn, and his lover, Shay.
Okay.
And then Sansa Stark is still political prisoner.
Yep. And
still betrothed to Joffrey.
Gross.
Yep. On Dragonstone is Stannis Baratheon. He loses the Battle of Blackwater. They drag him kicking and screaming back to Blackwater, back to Dragonstone. And he's there with Melisandre, the Red Priest, and his right-hand man, Davos Seaworth, the Onion Knight.
Okay.
So I moved these guys already. So technically where we last saw them was Karth, which is the greatest the greatest city that ever was or ever will be, which is exactly what they say.
Okay. She's here.
We're gonna start on Astapor, and she's there with Jorah Mormont, her friend zone night advisor, and her 3 baby dragons, Drogon, Rhaegal, and Viserion.
They're so cute before they become weapons of mass destruction.
You know, when they become weapons of mass destruction, they're still kind of cute. I still love them.
Okay. So that's where we are. What happens now?
Yes. Okay. Now, so we're going to open in episode 1 of season 3, Val Dahares, sorry, which means all men must serve.
Okay.
So you'll remember that Jack and Hagar gave Arya a coin and was like, show this to any guy from Bravos and say Valar Morghulis, which means all men must die. This is Valar Dahares, which means all men must serve.
Okay.
And you say those things together, right? It's like I said, so if I say Valar Morghulis, your response is Valar Dahares. Sorry, my Valyrian is very bad. So we're going to start Beyond the Wall.
Okay.
Right after the White Walkers and the Whites show up. They're still in a blizzard. and the White Walkers are attacking the Night's Watch position.
That's not good.
No, not at all. Sam, by the way, is not a fighter. We've established this. He'd much rather shit his pants. He's better at shitting his pants than he is at wielding a sword. Right. He's trying to find a brother of the Night's Watch through this blizzard. And he sees someone. He's like, hey. He walks up. The dude just doesn't have a head. He's like, okay, well, that guy's dead.
All right.
So
let's try again.
Sam is attacked by a white. And Ghost shows up, John's wolf, and saves him.
Doggy.
Yeah, because remember, John got lost.
Got captured by the free folk, and killed his buddy, and
and Ghost just kind of, it was like, okay, you do your thing, I'm gonna hang out with these guys. So
they probably need me more.
Yeah, so he saves Sam, and then Mormont shows up and sets it on fire.
Okay,
which we know is right now the only way that you can kill a White Walker or a white, right? So they have a little huddle, and Mormont's like, we've got to go back to Castle Black because this is fucking nuts, and we are surely going to die. Let's go. And they're like, okay. Also, we have to warn the world about this, and no one's going to believe us anymore.
Turns out zombies are real.
Yeah. So meanwhile, Jon Snow is brought to, I would call it the Wildling Camp, but it's so much bigger than that. He's brought to Skirling Pass, where like the main Wildling Camp is. And remember, all these guys now, all the free folk, are just trying to escape the White Walkers, right? They want to go south of the wall. They're like, shit's crazy up here. We don't want to do this. So John, like, they take him to the Wildling camp, and like they're gonna take him to go see Mance Rayder, who's the leader of the free folk, the king beyond the wall. And so they're taking him to his tent, and a fucking honest to God real life giant walks past him.
Okay.
No one thinks giants are real, by the way.
And yet here they are.
And he's like, what the fuck is that? And they're like, dude, it's a giant. We have like 10 of them.
Yeah, just chill.
He's like, okay, well, it's kind of neat to know that they are real. So he's brought before Mance Rayder. And he meets Mance's right-hand man, Tormund Greatsbane, who you will enjoy probably later. So he walked into the tent. He thinks that Tormund is the king beyond the wall. So he kneels before Tormund. And then Mance Rayder like looks at him. He's like, what are you, stop doing that?
The fuck are you doing?
Yeah, and he says, no man kneels here. Like, we don't do that.
No, we don't do that here.
So it turns out that Mance used to be in the Night's Watch, and then discovered the White Walker threat, and is like, "We're gonna get everyone together and flee or whatever." So, and he has this conversation with Jon Snow, and he's like, "Look, we just want to be free, right?
No gods, no kings,
right?" And he's like, you know, all that shady shit that happens at Craster's Keep. And John's like, yeah, or like where the guy only fucks his daughters and then they have kids. And, and he's like, yeah, so you know that Mormont knew about all that shit, and like everything is gray and nothing is right or wrong, and you understand this now, right? And John's like, I actually kind of do. Like, yes. And so he's like, what are you doing here? And John's like, I also want to be free. And so Mance seems to believe him, because remember that this is a part of a plan that he and another brother of the Night's Watch thought of. He's going to infiltrate them and be a spy, pretty much, right? So Mance buys it, gives him a new cloak, like a Wildling cloak, because he can't, all the Night's Watch guys wear black cloaks. Yeah. That's why they call them crows. And he's like, well, you don't wear that shit here. You'll probably get stabbed. So here's a new cloak. So in King's Landing,
way down south,
where it's warm. Okay. It is true that Tywin Lannister showed up right at the end of the Battle of Blackwater and saved the day. It is also true that Tyrion Lannister, his son,
won the battle for them.
Yeah.
He destroyed Stannis' entire fleet with wildfire.
Mm-hmm.
He should be the hero of King's Landing.
But
no one's buying it. And Tywin refuses to believe that he was in any way helpful during the battle. He's like, Dad, I fucking won the battle. He's like, go to your room. Like, no.
Tywin's a dick.
Yeah. So, by the way, Bronn has been knighted.
Oh, good for him.
And now he's calling himself Sir Bronn of the Blackwater.
Okay. Sure.
Because Bronn doesn't belong to any family. He doesn't have any claims anywhere. He's just a sellsword, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, well, now I'm Sir Bronn of the Blackwater. Joffrey is hanging out with a new girl that he met in the last season. Or not in the last season. A new girl is in court.
Okay.
It's Marjorie Tyrell.
Oh.
It's Loras' sister, who you might remember was married to Renly. So she showed up, and Joffrey is like,
I want to tap that.
She's got boobs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like 15. That's my only interest.
Also, I'm the king, so I can just say, hey, suck my dick. And she has to suck my dick.
Between boobs and killing pets, like, that's my thing, right? Yeah. So it turns out, by the way, that Marjorie Tyrell is great. She stops to feed the poor. She's very kind to everyone. Wow. Joffrey doesn't get it. And he's like, he's so mystified, but like interested. He's like, I don't understand you, why you'd be nice to people, but you know what? I'm kind of turned on, so I guess this is happening. By the way, his mother Cersei hates her because she gets it. She's like, "Oh, the whole poor act, that's fucking bullshit. Like, don't even with this." So, Sansa, who is just really glad that no one's paying attention to her. So Peter,
which honestly, in her place, I'd be the same way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, Peter Baelish,
Littlefinger.
Yeah, I forgot to put him on here, didn't I? Pays her a visit.
Oh no.
And he's like, look, because I brokered this alliance with the Tyrells and the Lannisters, I've been given Harrenhal.
Okay.
And I'm going to set sail from King's Landing. You need to come with me. I want you to stow away. I can take you away from all of this. And Sansa's like, I'm already very invested in this. Yeah. And I would really like to see Joffrey die eventually. And I had to be in King's Landing for that to happen. And he's like, okay, well, just think about it. So Davos survived the Battle of Blackwater.
Good for him.
Yep. He's back in Dragonstone with Stannis.
With Team Stannis.
Yeah. He was rescued by his pirate friend. And he feels like Melisandre has led Stannis astray because she filled his mind with this, there's a prophecy and you're the Lord of Light favors you. And
also she gave birth to a weird smoke demon or whatever.
That's his main concern. Yeah. It's like, I watched a smoke demon come out of that woman's vagina and then Renly Baratheon died. Yeah. So like, what the fuck?
What the fuck was any of that?
Yeah. Okay. So in Harrenhal / the Riverlands, Robb hasn't had a good victory since the Battle of Oxcross. Mm-hmm. And his momentum has kind of stalled because he was on fire there. Yeah. Like he was really good.
He started way up in the north and he's all the way fucking down here.
Also, this new alliance between the Tyrells and the Lannisters is very bad news for him. Because he was gonna make an alliance with Renly. Mm-hmm. And they were going to beat everyone. So they get to Harrenhal, it's been abandoned, and they find a survivor named Qyburn.
Okay.
Now you might notice this man's face. He played the Imperial Intelligence Officer in Andor, the boss.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, I guess he did.
Let me tell you, this guy's a fantastic fucking actor. So they get to abandon Harrenhal, they pull him out of the
Hold on, question.
Is this character a huge cunt?
Yes, but in in a really fun way. Like you'll still like him probably, mostly by the end. He's a man of science.
Huh.
We'll talk about it. Okay, so Daenerys Targaryen has arrived in Astapor.
Okay.
Oh, which by the way, okay, so she was in Karth, right?
Yeah.
The warlock stole her dragons. Her dragons set him on fire.
Yes.
She was betrayed by the one guy. She locked him in a vault.
It was a whole thing.
Everyone's dead in this city. She and her Dothraki guys start to look around and notice that like there's all this like gold, like there's a chandelier and there's fucking silverware and like all this really nice shit.
Yeah.
And Daenerys turns to her captain. She's like, take all of it. And so
You want some shit?
yeah, so they just start like stuffing shit in their shirts and then they leave having enough money to buy a ship.
Huh.
Now Daenerys needs a fleet of ships to get to Westeros to do her conquest.
Yeah.
But she's like, you know what?
It's a good start.
One ship and they get to Astapor. So they sail to Astapor and she's doing a little bit better, right?
Yeah.
Astapor is in a part of the world called Slaver's Bay, by the way, because they do slaves.
Yeah. They do slavery.
So her dragons now are the size of like small dogs,
Okay.
but they're not big enough to take to war. So Jorah suggests that they buy an army of Unsullied. And let me, because I think I have a picture of them.
Gee, Daniel, the fuck's an Unsullied?
They are an army of eunuchs
Okay.
who are trained and tortured from boyhood. And they get their junk cut off.
That's what being a eunuch is.
And they're slaves.
Okay.
And they're this amazing fighting army. And you can buy an Unsullied army.
You know, it doesn't seem like great strategy to have your primary fighting force be slaves.
Well, they're conditioned so hard that they are practically incapable of disobeying orders.
Okay.
Like these guys, like they're just at first they're just such mindless drones. They actually make very good soldiers because they do not disobey orders.
Oh, so they're Star Wars clones.
Yeah, and they're very, very good at fighting. Yeah. So Jorah's like, let's go to the Unsullied store and we'll get an Unsullied army. So the theory here is he's like, you go buy Unsullied, you're stronger, more Dothraki will join you because you're showing strength. And the Dothraki are all about strength, right? So they go to the Unsullied store and they meet Krasnus, this bald motherfucker right here. Let me tell you, Chris, this guy's a huge cunt. And his interpreter, Missandei.
Okay.
So they get there and he's like, but by the way, he does not speak her language. So he's using Missandei as an interpreter.
Yeah.
So he's just going on about the Unsullied. He's like, fucking Unsullied are so fucking great. Only 1 in 4 of them survive the training. They start at the age of 5. They have to kill a newborn slave baby in front of their mother at the end of their training. And Daenerys hates all of this. She's like, that's fucking disgusting. And he's like, what'd she say? And Missandei's like, she says, okay.
She says that's great.
Yeah. So like she does not love the idea. So while they're in Astapor, there's an assassination attempt on Daenerys.
Oh.
And it turns out that it was one of the surviving warlocks of that order, whose leader the dragons just set on fire.
Yeah.
What I'm looking for this. She is rescued. So they he sends a manticore after, which is like this poisonous scorpion bug thing. And she is saved by a mysterious hooded figure that ends up being Sir Barristan Selmy.
Oh.
Who you might remember was captain of the King's Guard. That Joffrey was like, you're too fucking old, you're fired. And he's like, fuck you. And he takes his cape off and he throws it down on your knees. So he's like, I've crossed the narrow sea. I've come all this way to save you. I was extremely loyal to your brother Rhaegar, and I am here to serve you.
and I pledge my fealty to you. And Daenerys is like, that's great because we don't have many people here and you just saved my life. So keep doing that and everything will be fine. So episode 2, Dark Wings, Dark Words.
Okay.
Beyond the Wall, Mance tells Jon about how he unified the free folk. Which, remember that the free folk have 90, there are like 90 different clans. They speak 7 different languages. And Mance's sell to everyone is like, if we stay north of the wall, we're going to fucking die. And everyone's like, makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And
seems true.
And that's what's keeping everyone together. That one's like just core survival thing. We also learn about wargs, which is a magical ability that a human has to take control of another living thing.
Okay.
Mostly animals. So like Mance has a falconer, who is a guy that has a falcon, and he'll warg into the falcon and fly around and scout.
Oh, neat.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So Mormont leads the survivors of the Night's Watch trying to get back to Castle Black. Right. So they kind of start on their trek this way.
Heading vaguely southeast.
Right. So in the north, Bran is still having really weird dreams. And he's having these dreams about a 3-eyed raven.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah. In his dream, he tries to shoot it with a bow and arrow, but this mysterious boy appears. I have to remember this guy's name. He was in The Force Awakens, by the way. So this mysterious boy shows up and is like, hey, you can't do that. You can't shoot the 3-eyed raven. And Bran's like, why? And he's like, because you are the 3-eyed raven. And Bran wakes up and is like, what the fuck does that mean?
What does any of that mean?
In fact, it'd be really, really useful is if that person were actually here now so I could ask him some questions. And he shows up. He just walks up to him.
Yeah, it's like, what's up, dude?
Yeah.
Heard you have some questions.
He's like, hey, my name's Jojen, and this is my sister Mira. They're a part of a northern family loyal to the Starks. So this is Jojen and Mira, and Jojen's like, we've been searching for you to protect you, and it turns out that Jojen is a warg.
Oh, okay.
See, that's why I told you about Oliveria earlier. So it turns out that Bran and Jojen have been sharing these 3-eyed raven dreams, which is really kind of fucking weird.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. So at an undetermined location, I'm going to pretend like I didn't put him right next to where he actually is, because it's supposed to be a mystery. Theon is a prisoner in chains, and he is being lightly tortured.
How lightly are we talking here? Like not lightly at all, or like
they're beating him, and they've got him tied to a cross, and it's not pleasant.
Yeah.
When the guards leave, this servant shows up.
Wait a minute. I think I remember this guy.
So the servant shows up, and he unties him, and he says, your sister Yara sent me. I'm here to get you out and escape, but we have to wait until after dark. And Theon's like, that sounds great, because I'm going to be real honest with you.
I would like to leave.
Yeah, the hospitality here has not been amazing. In King's Landing, Joffrey and Cersei are just fighting about Marjorie Tyrell now. Because Cersei is like, she's a bitch, right?
That girl's no good for you.
Yeah.
And Joffrey's like, but I want her to touch my penis.
Yeah, it's this whole thing. So Shay, who is Tyrion's lover, but he's also, I put her way over here, didn't I? Here, I'll put her over here. She's also Cersei's, or she's also Sansa's handmaiden, right? That's the excuse that she has to be there.
Yeah.
Is that she works for, Having overheard the conversation between her and Littlefinger, she's like, that guy has got such strong creep vibes. You need to steer well clear. And Sansa's like,
he's been a family friend forever. He was really good friends with my mom. And Shay's like, he wants your body. And she's like, ew, he's like, I don't know, 80 or something. And she's like, girl, I know what it looks like when a man wants a woman, and that man wants you very, very much. And so she's like, okay, I don't have time for this, because she's taken to a meeting with Loras and Marjorie's mother, Olenna Tyrell.
Wait a minute, I recognize her.
Whose nickname is the Queen of Thorns. And Chris, I love this character so much because she's like 70 years old.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't take shit from anyone. And she's brash and rude to people, but like in that old person way where she knows that no one will challenge her on it.
Yeah.
But she's also very, very smart, very quick, right? And she has an amazing instinct. So Sansa and Olenna have a meeting, and basically Olenna wants to know more about this Joffrey problem that Marjorie has gotten into.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, okay, tell me about Joffrey. And Sansa, who is learning to play the game, is like, oh, he's my beloved. He's such a great king and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, cut the shit. Like, he's a cunt, right? And she's like, oh my God, he's such a cunt. You have no idea. And so she's kind of worried that Marjorie is getting into a thing that might be a really bad thing.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, Marjorie and Joffrey are hanging out in his bedroom.
Oh, I don't think I like where this is going.
They're just hanging out. And Joffrey really wants Marjorie to see this really cool crossbow that he has.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't realize that Marjorie is there to like get things happening, right? He's just oblivious to that. And he's like, oh, look at this fucking crossbow. And she's like, take your pants off. And he's like, yeah, but the crossbow. And she's like, I'm going to suck your dick. And he's like, but the crossbow. And so she starts to read the room a little bit and starts to think. And so she starts to act really impressed and interested in the crossbow. And then starts to get a good read on his character, and was like, oh, I bet killing stuff is really fucking cool. And Joffrey's like, yeah, I kill animals all the fucking time, like pets and shit. Like it's the best thing ever. And she just kind of like,
okay, that's a little creepy, but
which Marjorie thinks, but she's there for a fucking reason, right? And so she
emphasis on fucking.
Yes. So she leans into it, and Joffrey is like, I think I love you. And so he's like, oh, we can go on a hunt. We can kill stuff together. And she's like, I would fucking love that. That'd be the best thing. And Joffrey is like, okay, I think I might actually be in love with you. So this is going well. In the Riverlands, Rob and his girlfriend, Talisa, have now officially been married.
Oh, that's nice.
What's a problem? Do you remember why?
It is because he was supposed to marry someone else. And
Walder Frey's, one of Walder Frey's daughters.
Yeah.
He didn't give a fuck. So he gets 2 ravens.
Okay.
Which, by the way, have we talked about this? This is how mail is distributed.
Yeah.
Okay. Like a raven comes as a little scroll, you take it off, and they fuck up.
Read it. And...
Yeah. First raven, his grandfather, Hoster Tully, is dead.
Oh.
So
it's a bummer.
Yeah. So that's Catelyn, his mother Catelyn's father.
Okay.
Oh. She's a Stark now. She'll be in the Stark folder. Well, she was a Stark. I don't really know. Well, her face is very large. So that's her. That was her father, right?
Okay, yeah.
Second Raven. Winterfell was torched by Theon and the Ironborn, but they're all gone, and Bran and Rickon are dead.
Oh.
And so...
Can't imagine he takes that very well.
No, and Catelyn is freaking the fuck out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, okay, we've got to do something about this. And he leaves one of his lieutenants, Roose Bolton, in charge of the armies while he's there.
Okay.
And let me tell you, this guy's a huge cunt. So he's like, I need to go to River Run, figure out this thing with my grandfather and go to his funeral and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So you hold on the fort and, turns out that Rob's support with his army is starting to thin out because his new wife is a foreigner.
Mm-hmm.
She's not a northerner. And they're all like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Like, we're here to fight a war.
Yeah.
Not to do whatever the fuck you're doing with her, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, and just to counterpoint, it is very good what we're doing. Just saying. And they're like, okay.
Okay, great. But like, what does that do for us?
But we're fighting a war. So, okay. Arya and company are traveling north.
Mm-hmm.
And they run into a gang called the Brotherhood Without Banners. And they're pretty much just outlaws. Actually, you know what they really are? They're kind of like Robin Hood types. And they meet this guy named Thoros of Myr, who is a red priest as well, just like Melisandre.
So is he like piss smoke demons or?
Nope.
Oh.
He is way less invested in the religion than Melisandre is, which is ironic for a reason I'll explain in a second. So it turns out that the Brotherhood Without Banners have a prisoner, and it's Sandor Clegane.
Oh.
Who you might remember was fleeing from King's Landing saying, and I quote, "Fuck the king."
Yeah. I didn't remember that, but it's a good thing you reminded me.
Yeah. So they have him as a prisoner, probably not because of that, but because of some of the other shitty stuff he's done in his life, right? Arya knows Sandor Clegane, the Hound, and he knows her.
Mm-hmm.
So Arya's like,
this is a little awkward.
Yeah, like tries to turn her face and like tries to walk away, but it's too late. And Sandor Clegane turns to Thoros and was like, "What are you doing with the Stark bitch?" And they're like, "What?
The who?
What are you talking?" He's like, "That's fucking Arya Stark. That's Ned Stark's daughter." And they're like, "What?
What?"
And they're like, "You're gonna come with us." So now,
well, shit.
They're not exactly prisoners,
but they're prisoners.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh my.
You know, for next, I think I might be putting too many images on this.
Possible.
Because these are all like pretty high quality images. Yeah. The software is like, what is happening? So now all these guys are traveling together.
Not necessarily by choice, but
yeah. I mean, they're not bad to her, but they're like, we'll kill you if you leave. So Jaime and Brienne are making their trek to King's Landing.
Mm-hmm.
They go to cross this bridge, and Jaime tries to escape. He takes one of her swords, and they fight. But Brienne is a really, really good fighter, and she wears him down, and she disarms him. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right at the end of their fight, this group of guys walks up, and they're like, "What the fuck is happening? First of all, why is that man in chains? Are you a woman with a sword? Are you a 6-foot woman?" Everyone's very confused, and they meet this guy named Locke.
I think we have too many images, he says, as he adds more images to the whiteboard.
We're adding all of them. So he's from House Bolton, right? And he recognizes Jaime Lannister. And he's like, didn't you escape from our camp? Like, didn't Catelyn Stark let you go? And he's like, that may have happened, but let me explain. She's like, no, we're taking you back to Rob. And he's like, well, son of a bitch. So now they are prisoners of this guy and his people. Okay. In Astapor.
Way the fuck across the ocean.
You might remember, so Pentos, where the story starts for Daenerys Targaryen, is that city that Daemon and his wife and their daughters are hanging out when they're not like,
oh yeah,
they have that period of time where they're not in. Yeah. They're somewhere else. That's where they are. So, Daenerys learns of a local custom called the Walk of Punishment, which is the name of this episode, which is that they crucify slaves who are insubordinate and they line them up like mile markers.
It's pretty fucked up.
She does not like this at all. So Barristan Selmy is a part of this now. He's one of her advisors, And so Jorah and Barristan kind of argue about buying the Unsullied. The debate is over slavery, right? So Barristan was one of Rhaegar's Kingsguard, and he tells Daenerys, he's like, your brother Rhaegar was the finest man I ever met. He was genuinely so kind. Everyone loved him. And she's like, yeah, but then he raped and killed Lyanna Stark. And he's like, yeah, I don't get it. No one gets it. It just, that wasn't in his character. It's just kind of weird. But let me tell you that when I knew him, he was such a kind and gentle man.
Maybe it was all the incest.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, maybe he just snapped. Yeah. So we get a little bit of exposition there, right? So Daenerys is like, fucking stop debating. We're doing the Unsullied. And so she walks up to him and is like, I want 8,000. And Missandei translates. And he laughs at her. He's like, you can't afford 100 of my fucking soldiers. And he like would string all these insults together. Like, this fucking bitch with the white hair and the blah, 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 and fuck you and fuck your mother. And and like Missandei would go to translate and be like, he said, no. Right. She's like just trying to keep the peace.
Yeah.
And
Daenerys is like, I don't think that's exactly what he said, but I will accept it for the moment.
You said no, but he spoke for like 10 minutes. So Daenerys is like, okay, how about I give you all the money I have in my biggest dragon, Drogon, as payment? And Jorah and Barristan look at each other and then look at Daenerys and is like, the fuck did you just say?
What?
Like, you understand.
Your dragons are appreciating investments here.
Like that dragon is only going to, they never stop getting bigger. They grow until they die.
Yeah.
You might be able to ride that fucking drag, just one of them, across the narrow sea and win the fucking war yourself. What are you doing? And she's like, shut the fuck up. And he's like, all right.
All right, you're in charge.
Yep. So she's like, I'll give you my dragon and all the money we have, and I want you to throw in Missandei.
Okay.
As just a little, little something extra. And he's like, okay.
All right.
That's great. Fucking come up tomorrow and you can pick him up. And she's like, great. So Beyond the Wall, by the way, this is my favorite storyline in this season. Beyond the Wall. Jon, Mance, and the Free Folk go up to so these guys are somewhere else. They're traveling back to the Wall.
In that general direction.
Yeah. I'm going to take the White Walkers off here because they don't matter that much. And we need
we need a little space.
Fewer pictures. So they go up to the Fist of the First Men where that battle took place. And they find a bunch of dead horses arranged in little patterns, but no human remains.
That's concerning.
Yeah. And they're like, what the fuck? So Mance orders Tormund and Jon to scale the wall and prepare for an attack on Castle Black that he's planned.
Isn't the wall like 1 billion feet tall?
Yeah, it's pretty tall, but like they like the Free Folk know how to scale it though. Like they're it's just kind of a thing. So the way that they're going to do this is that they're going to attack Castle Black from the south side because you don't have to guard that side.
Yeah,
because that's the southern side.
No one would expect.
Yeah, and Mance will give a signal and attack from the north, and they're like, "Well, what's your signal going to be? What's your signal going to be?" He says, "I'm going to make the biggest fire the north has ever seen." And they're like,
okay.
Sounds a little dramatic, but okay. So farther south, I guess this should be here. These guys are up here. Farther south. Mormont, the few Night's Watch survivors return to Craster's Keep. And Gilly is having her baby.
Oh.
Now, do you remember the whole thing with the babies?
If it's a girl, he keeps it and eventually fucks her. If it's a boy, he leaves it out for the White Walkers.
Yes, that is exactly right. So Gilly is having her baby.
Mm-hmm.
You might also remember that Sam like promised to come back and get her.
Yeah.
But they're like, what are we going to do with her? Like,
Yeah, it's kind of fucking up our whole deal here.
what, her and the baby? Like,
Yeah.
we can't feed a baby. So this time around, Craster is even more antagonistic toward the Night Watch. And he just comes out and was like, guys, I have a deal with the White Walkers. And they say they'll spare me if I keep feeding them children. And they're like, I'm sorry.
What?
Feeding them what? And he's like, children. But they're boys. Like, who the fuck cares? And they're like, that's gross.
Yeah, that's really fucked up.
So Gilly gives birth to a boy. In River Run. I wish I could click and drag the map and not move the map around. That's fine.
That would be convenient.
Yeah. Rob and Catelyn attend. So Rob go to River Run.
Okay.
Which is the House Tully seat of power. It's where Catelyn's from.
Yeah.
They attend her father's funeral. They have a ceremony. It's like a Viking thing. They put him in a boat. They
set it on fire.
They put him in the water and they shoot it with a fire arrow, right? So there is this hilarious thing. This does not matter to the story. Well, it kind of does. I'm going to tell you about it anyway. So this is Catelyn's brother.
Okay.
Edmure. And no. That's her nephew. Sorry. And this is her brother, the Blackfish.
Okay.
His name's Brighton Tully, but everyone calls him the Blackfish. And this dude is such a badass. If you just look at him, he's grizzled and old and like does not care about any, like he's such a badass.
Mm-hmm.
So they do this thing where they put the boat out, right? And Edmure's, since he's the Lord of River Run now, has the honor of shooting the arrow at the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But he's such a dumbass that he fires once and it just plops in the water as the boat's moving, right? Fires twice, plops in the water. Fires a third time, plops in the water. While everyone watching the proceedings are just like trying to hide their face, right? The Blackfish walks up to him, grabs the bow and arrow, like smacks him in the face, like looks at a flag to see which way the wind's going, draws once, fires it. Before it even comes out of the sky, throws the bow back to Edmure and just walks away. And it hits the boat and it's on fire, right? That's generally their relationship. Yeah. And because Edmure really is kind of a dumbass. They have a war meeting afterwards with Rob, Edmure, and the Blackfish because the war is not going well now for Rob. Rob wanted to lure Tywin into the Riverlands, but Edmure drove them out of the Riverlands. And he's like, dude, just like with this shit just now with the boat and the bow and arrow, you fucked everything up. What the fuck is wrong with you? And he's like, well, I thought I was doing a good thing. And like the Blackfish smacks me. Shut the fuck up. Fucking child. But they did take 2 teenage Lannister boys prisoner.
Oh, okay.
One of the teenage boys is played by the actor who would eventually play Tommen, who's also in Star Wars The Acolyte. But they just recast him in a different role.
That's really awkward.
Yeah. So in King's Landing, there are a lot of people on this map now. I might have to figure out a different thing because we're only adding characters. Well, we're
subtracting.
Well, no, we're subtracting quite a few. So Tywin presides over his first small council meeting.
Okay.
He's still pissed that no one knows where Jaime is, his favorite son.
Yeah.
Tywin orders Littlefinger to marry Lysa Arryn, who is also Catelyn's sister.
I was going to say, who the fuck is that?
Well, do you remember Gilbert Gottfried?
Vaguely.
John Arryn.
Oh, okay.
It was.
He's the one with the kid who likes pushing people down the bottomless pit?
Yes,
okay.
in the Vale.
Gotcha.
And his mother is Lysa.
Okay.
The kid's mother is Lysa.
Right.
So Tywin orders Littlefinger to, he's like, go up and marry Lysa Arryn, because the Vale have the Knights of the Vale who are like very good fighters. And they're like, maybe we can bring them into this and it'll help the war effort.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, I'll ride up there. I'm going to go to the Vale and marry Lysa. Great. And Tyrion is named the Master of Coin, which he's like, Dad, I have no fucking experience in economics or anything.
Yeah.
And he's like, so the fuck
Fucking figure it out.
Figure it out. Because Peter Baelish was the Master of Coin, but now that he's doing stuff,
he's off doing other shit.
Right. So Tyrion gets all the ledgers and like is trying to learn economics, and learns that, because he takes it seriously.
Yeah.
Learns that the Iron Throne is hideously in debt to the Iron Bank, which is a bank in the Free Cities of Bravos. So he's like, well,
that seems bad.
Great. They're going to blame this shit on me too. So in Dragonstone, Stannis is heavily embarrassed by his defeat. Melisandre, she's like, I have to go on an errand. I'll see you later. She just fucks off.
Later.
Right. So, well, she said she's about to leave for an errand. But he's like, Stannis is like, or we could have sex. And he's like, actually, why don't we make another shadow baby? And that's how we can kill Joffrey, or that's how we can kill whoever.
Because like your defining character trait here is that you like showing your tits to people, and like that kind of has an effect on me after a while.
Yeah, and also we just have another smoke baby. We'll just make smoke babies. We'll win the fucking war.
Just make smoke demons and kill everybody. It'd be great.
So she's like, okay, I need king's blood for that spell. I've already used yours. We need someone else's with King Robert Baratheon's blood.
Okay.
And Stannis is like, well, Robert had a bastard called Gendry. And she's like, where is he? And she starts to figure out where.
So that's where she's fucking off to, presumably.
So at that undisclosed location, this guy helps Theon escape.
Oh wow, how nice of him.
They kill guards. They go through the woods and shit. It has Theon really believing that he's there to rescue him. And then he gets to the fort where he's going to deliver him to his sister Yara. And he leads him into a room where he's like, oh, your sister's in here. It's the same room he was in when he busted him out with the cross that he was tied up to and everything. And he's like, oh, by the way, I'm not here to rescue here. I'm here to torture you. Fucking loser. And that's how that goes.
So Theon Greyjoy is not having a great time.
No. And you know what? You kind of love to see it because of what he did at Winterfell and everything.
Yeah.
And the fact that he betrayed Robb and everything.
You mean to imply that what goes around comes around?
Yeah. Okay. So Arya and these guys are hanging out in this area with
as hanging out as it's possible to be when you're not allowed to leave.
Right. Sandor's still a prisoner. Hot Pie is like, I think I'm done with this. I'm going to go find an inn somewhere and make pies all day.
Okay.
I think that would be a better life than what we're doing now. And
I think he's right.
Yeah. The Brotherhood Without Banners is like, all right, have a good life, kid.
Yeah.
And so he fucks off.
Good for him.
Yeah.
He gets a happy ending.
Yep. By the way, Arya is really upset by that because she was like, it's like one of her friends, you know?
Yeah.
Jaime and Brienne are now Locke. This guy over here, Locke. They're his prisoner.
Yeah.
At night, around the fire, bunch of guys that haven't seen a woman probably ages because they've been at war. They start to look at Brienne. And
she's like, I could kill all of you with one hand tied behind my back.
Well,
right?
She's got both hands tied behind her back with no weapons.
She could probably still kill him.
And they're like, 10 of them. And Jaime's like, you know what's about to happen, right? Like, don't fight him. It's only going to piss him off. Like, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out after. We'll find our moment, and we will get retribution later. Mm-hmm. But like, this is happening, so you need to accept that. And she tries to fight, and it pisses everyone off. And so Jaime, in a spectacular contradiction of his character, who is selfish, self-obsessed, fucks his sister, tries to like reason with them. And he's like, look, her family's really rich. You could probably get, like a ransom from them, only if she's unharmed. So like, what do you say? And he's like, tell me more about this. This, come sit at the table and let's talk about this. So they sit down, and Locke is acting real chummy and stuff, and they're talking. And Locke pulls out a sword and cuts off Jaime's sword hand.
Huh.
Mind you, Jaime Lannister is the best swordsman in the world. So this
sucks.
It more than sucks. It's like he just cuts a part of his identity away. Just within seconds, it's gone, right? And it's fucking terrible. It's also very hard to watch. So in the next episode 4, and now his watch is ended. Oh wait, no, we're still in the Riverlands. Sorry. So these guys are still prisoners. Jaime is in bad shape.
Yes.
He's lost a lot of blood. He's more or less being tortured by their captors now.
Yeah.
And so things aren't looking great for him. Arya and Gendry are taken to the Brotherhood Without Banners like main base. And they put like hoods over their heads so they can't see where they're going because it's like a big secret and everything. Yeah. And they get to their secret hideout. And then they meet the leader of the Brotherhood Without Banners, and his name is Beric Dondarrion. And he's also kind of a badass.
Okay.
And so they're all there. Sandor's like, fucking let me go. And Beric's like, I'm sure you've done something that you're guilty of that we need to execute you for. Anyone know of a crime this man's committed? Like he's had to have done something. And Arya's like, yeah, motherfucker, he murdered my friend, the baker's boy from season 1. Because you might remember that he killed that baker's boy.
Okay.
And Sandor's like, yeah, fucking kill the baker's boy. The kid sucked.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah. And Beric says, he's like, no, that's a crime. You will answer for it. And you will answer with a trial by combat. And Sandor Clegane is like,
all right, fucker, bring it on.
I thought you'd never ask, who am I fighting? And Beric Dondarrion's like, me. And he's like, even better.
Yeah, great.
Because I know I can fucking kill you, so let's go. So in King's Landing, well, first of all, I kind of forgot to put Varys on here, didn't I? We learned this really interesting thing about Varys, the Master of Whispers. Did I mention to you that he's also a eunuch?
Yes.
Well, you figure out why. He grew up in Essos.
Okay.
And was sold as a slave to a sorcerer.
Okay.
And he tells the story. He's like, they cut me up. They threw my parts, this sorcerer threw my parts into a fire and spoke words into the fire. And then the fire answered. And Tyrion, who's telling this story to, is like, that's really freaky as fuck.
That's really fucking weird.
He's telling this story, by the way. He's got this box in the middle of his room that smells terrible. And he's telling Tyrion the story. And Tyrion's like, the fuck is happening here? And he's like, just fucking listen to the story. And so he tells him the story and about how he's like come to mistrust magic. And he's like, I have finally come to the point where I have my revenge. And he gets a crowbar and he opens the fucking box, and there's like this old man in this box who's like, where the fuck am I? What the fuck's happening?
Yeah.
And he turns like, who the fuck is this guy? And he's like, that's the sorcerer. Can you leave, please? I have some business I need to attend to. And Tyrion's like, okay.
Did I need to be here for any of this?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like, I'm sure you could just crowbar this guy without ever showing him to me.
I didn't need to know any of this stuff. I didn't ask you why you lost your balls, but you just started telling me. Cersei's freaking out that Marjorie seems to be like in control of Joffrey now, just full on. He will do anything she says.
Yep.
Sansa and Marjorie become friends.
Oh, that's nice.
Because Marjorie's like, look, I get it. Like, he's a cunt, but like, we can make this into a good situation. You and I can be good friends. Like, we can make this good.
Yeah.
You know, and she's like, also, I think it would be a really good idea if you married my brother Loras. And Sansa is like, he's fucking gorgeous. Yeah. Of course. And she's like, well, he's gay, but it's like, it's fine.
It's fine. You'll figure it out.
So Sansa is all about this, and she immediately starts daydreaming about Loras and the pretty kids they'll have and
his
shit.
hair's so pretty.
Yeah, right. So in the north, Brandon's still having shared dreams with that kid Jojen. And it's weird.
Yeah.
So beyond the wall in Craster's Keep, that really weird guy. I'm not going to put him on here. I don't think we can handle too many more pictures. There's not enough food. Everyone's starving. There's this rumor going around that Craster has a store of food that he's not sharing. And things generally just aren't doing very well. Do I have a Night's Watch? This might be in my random folder. Yeah, it's definitely going to be here. You might remember they're traveling with this guy, Carl, with a K.
Vaguely.
Yeah. He's there also.
Okay.
So here comes Carl. And he says something that offends Craster. He's like, you fuck your daughters, that's fucking weird. And he's like, no, it's not. And he's like, yes, it is. And he's like, no, it's not. And he's like, fuck you, I'm going to kill you.
It's pretty fucking weird.
So he kills him.
Okay.
Carl kills Craster. And Mormont's like, you dumb, do you know what you've done? Like, that's insane. Like, what the fuck? And he tries to stand up to him. And one of his other Night's Watch guys standing behind Jorah, stabs him through the back with his sword. And so fucking Jorah Mormont dead.
Fucking dead as a doornail.
They kill Jorah. Everything erupts in chaos. Because some of the guys want to rape the girls. Some of them just want to eat.
Yeah.
Like everything's crazy. 3/4 of them are criminals anyway. So like everything erupts into chaos. Sam and Gilly are like, you know, it'd be a really...
This would be a good time for us to leave.
Let's go. And they get the fuck out, right? With their baby. With Gilly's baby.
Yep.
So in Astapor. Oh my God, Chris. Oh my God.
You're excited about this?
I am. So Daenerys arrives to pick up her Unsullied army. She is at Unsullied R.Us.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm here to pick up my 8,000 Unsullied dudes.
Also, your translator.
Right. I like her hair.
Yeah.
That's why I want her. So she's got Drogon in a box and with like a chain. She's like ready to trade him. This guy is still being just a huge dick. Yeah. And he's like, you make sure you tell her she's dumb and fucking, I hate her white hair. And Missandei is like, he's so happy to see you. So he's saying all this shit, right? But because Daenerys needs a translator, like, you know, it's a whole thing. So the way the ownership of the Unsullied army is transferred is they have this whip with like a cat on it and stuff. And they're like, basically, if you hold this, you control the whole fucking army. It's not a great system, but that's what it is. Yeah. And she's like, oh, okay then. So
makes sense.
He's like, I'm going to give this to you. You give me your dragon. And so Missandei's like, you know, you do that. He's like, hand me your dragon, bitch. And Missandei's like, you know, dragon.
Hand her the dragon.
Yeah. So She pulls Drogon out, who can fly now, by the way.
Yeah.
And he's flying in the air and he hands her the chain. And they give her the whip. So Daenerys is like, so that's it? Like, it's my army?
It's my army now?
And she's like, yeah. And so in the background, by the way, Drogon is pissed.
Yeah.
Because he wants his mama, and this dude is an asshole, and he's like struggling against him. And he's like, you're not my fucking dad. This is not happening. Daenerys calls the army to attention in Valyrian, which is the language this guy was speaking. So he's too busy. He's too busy with the dragon. But Missandei is like, the fuck?
What?
So Daenerys gives them some more test commands. Like, fucking march forward. And they march forward. And he's like, march backwards. Meanwhile, Drogon is just more and more belligerent.
Yep.
Just is like, I want my
Drogon's
mom.
not having any of this.
So, this owner guy in Valyrian tells Missandei, he says, tell the bitch he won't come when commanded. And like Missandei goes to translate and she's like, stop. And she looks at him and in Valyrian says, a dragon isn't a slave. I am Daenerys Stormborn of House Targaryen, of the blood of old Valyria. Valyrian is my mother tongue. And he was like, the what? So what is, you heard everything I said bad about you. She's like, oh yeah, I did.
Oh yes.
She turns to the Unsullied and she says, kill the masters. Fucking without a single thought of hesitation, the first fucking Unsullied guy comes out with a spear, spears the closest fucking slave owner guy, right? And they just start slaughtering all the slave owners around them. So Drogon is like at the peak of him just freaking out. And he's like trying to like fly away from this asshole. And she looks up at him and says, Dracarys. And Drogon's like, I thought you'd never fucking ask. Lights the dude on fire. This dude is dead. So the Unsullied sack Astapor in a matter of minutes.
Good for them.
They weren't expecting, they thought the Unsullied were there to, they'd never thought the Unsullied would be the ones to take over Astapor.
But here we are.
So afterwards, Daenerys addresses the Unsullied. And she's like, you're all free men now.
Congratulations.
You're free. If you don't want to be a soldier anymore, you don't have to be a soldier. You can go do your own thing. But if you come with me and you fight with me, we are going to make a better world. And you will not be the last slaves I free in the free cities. And the Unsullied response was all of them pounding their spears on the ground in unison. And not a single one of them leaves. Now, you can imagine, like, there's buying the Unsullied army, and then there's this shit, which is like you can't buy this level of loyalty, right? On their way out, by the way, she fucking throws the whip to the ground, and they all just like walk over it. It's a fucking beautiful image. Okay, episode 5. Kissed by Fire, which is a sex joke.
How many more episodes we got?
A couple.
Okay.
We're fine. We're doing fine. Yeah.
Just as long as you're on pace here.
Remember, we're not doing 2 episodes or two seasons. So Beyond the Wall, Jon, Tormund, and Ygritte are preparing to scale the wall. Jon, so they're like, hey, how big is the Night's Watch forces? And he lies.
Yeah.
He makes them seem bigger than they actually are. And then Jon and Ygritte fuck in a cave.
That's nice.
Which is why this episode is called Kissed by Fire. That's pretty much what happens north of the wall. In Slaver's Bay, Daenerys pulls out her map. She starts to look around and she's like, all right, what's the next city we're going to fucking free? And they look at Yunkai.
Okay.
Which is over
here.
Yep.
Because they're still in Asperry and Kai's right there. So she meets with the commander of her Unsullied army, whose name is Grey Worm. Where, let's see.
Left side, second column,
Oh, thank you.
second row. Whatever.
Good eye, Jesus. And she's like, by the way, like, why do they call you Grey Worm? He's like, they call us the most demeaning things they can. That's my name. And
Yeah.
she's like, dude, you can
It's fucking stupid.
change your name.
Yeah.
Like, you're free now. And he's like, that's the name I had when Daenerys Stormborn freed me. So that's my name now. And she's like, shit, all right.
Okay.
Fucking
Whatever works for you, bud.
yeah. So in River Run, those Lannister boys that I told you that they had, they execute them.
Oh.
Without Rob's permission. So Rickard Karstark, not Stark, Karstark. I'm not going to put him on here. Doesn't matter. Kills the boy because they like killed someone he knew or something.
Yeah.
Maybe a son or something. So Rob pulls him out in the fucking courtyard.
I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And executes him. And as a result, the Karstarks all take their ball and go home. They're like, fuck your war. We're going back to the north.
Mm-hmm.
That was one half of his army.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's very bad. So Rob's like, well, shit.
Kind of needs some more dudes.
Yeah. So he's like, okay, here's an idea. Why don't we do something really daring? Because that's what I'm really good at. How about we attack? Where did it go?
Where are you looking for?
Casterly Rock,
Oh, it's right there.
which is the Lannister seat of power.
Okay.
That's where they're from. He's like, let's go take over Casterly Rock.
Yeah, it's just right on down
Yeah.
there.
But I need more men. And they're like, well, maybe we can get House Frey to throw in some guys. And he's like, that's a great idea. Oh, except that I promised to marry one of his daughters, and he might be kind of pissed.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, I am going to travel north to House Frey and repair our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll apologize, whatever it takes. By the way, House Frey is up here at the Twins.
Okay.
So at Harrenhal, so remember that Locke is like returning these guys to Rob, right?
Yeah.
They think that Rob's at Harrenhal. So they take them back to Harrenhal. And Roose Bolton is here too. Because he's in charge of this stuff there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rob left him in charge.
Yeah.
And Qyburn notices that Jaime is nearly dead. And it turns out that he is really good at medicine.
Huh.
But like in a way that's like a higher level than maesters generally are, right?
Mm.
And he's like, dude, you're really good at this. Why aren't you a maester? And he's like, well, I was, but they kicked me out. And he's like, why? And he's like, they thought that I was too extreme. But he like he knows how to, like, he uses actual science to like,
he knows things.
Yeah. There's this really, after he patches him up, kind of sews his stump closed and shit. There's a really touching scene where he goes to a bathhouse, and he's still beat up. He's fucking dirty and muddy and shit. And Brienne is in one of the bath things, like holding her boobs, you know. And he gets into the thing with her, and they have this talk that ends up being about how everywhere Jaime Lannister goes, he's called the Kingslayer because he killed the Mad King.
Yeah.
He stabbed him in the back, right? And then slit his throat. And he's like, I'll never live that down. But do you know why I killed him? It turns out that the Mad King had caches of wildfire under all of the main thoroughfares of the city. And as Robert Baratheon was coming to knock on his door, the Mad King gave the order to destroy all of King's Landing.
Oh.
And so he killed him. And it's this touching conversation about honor and all this other stuff. And it's a nice moment for them, because you can tell that Jaime is, for some reason, he's like drawn to Brienne for some reason, and she's drawn to him, and it's a weird thing, and they don't, because she wants to be a knight and shit, and it's this whole thing. It's a really nice scene. It's one of those things I'll probably make you watch. So at Hollow Hill, so I probably have these guys all in the wrong place. It doesn't matter, but it's these guys.
Okay.
Sandor's trial by combat begins. And Beric's like, I'm gonna represent the Lord of Light, who you've committed your sin against him. Sandor kills him. Again,
that was anticlimactic.
Takes a sword, puts it right through his fucking right.
Jesus.
The dude falls over dead. Thoros of Myr runs over to him. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Arya, in the confusion, because everyone's like, holy shit, he just killed fucking Beric Dondarrion.
Cut him in half.
Arya grabs a dagger and runs at Clegane, and it's like, you know what, I'll kill him my fucking self.
Yeah.
And then Beric Dondarrion stands up. Because when Thoros of Myr ran over to him, he was like saying some weird shit over him and had his hands moving and stuff.
Doing some red priest shit.
And fucking Beric Dondarrion stands up and he's like, well, I mean, you won, so you're innocent.
All right, cool.
Yeah. So you're free to go.
Also, what's that small child doing running at you with a dagger?
Yeah. So Sandor's like, really? I can just
really?
I can just go?
Just go?
They're like, yeah. He's like, oh, okay, bye.
Bye.
Yeah. So he fucks off. Gendry, who's been watching all this stuff happen, is like, Arya, I want to join these guys. I want to be a part of the Brotherhood without banners. And she's like, that sucks, because we're friends and you have really nice abs, to be honest. And he's like, you're like 8 years old. Sorry, I'm not going to wait for you.
Yeah.
So that night, I got to tell you about, Arya has a nightly routine.
Okay.
Where she says a list of names out loud, and they are a list of people she plans to kill.
And completely normal 8-year-old stuff.
Joffrey is on there.
Mm-hmm.
Sandor Clegane, like a bunch of people, right? And that's how she gets to sleep. She can't sleep unless she does it.
Okay.
So on Dragonstone, Stannis is still depressed because he lost his big battle, and everyone thinks he's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And Melisandre's not there, so he's not getting laid.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's forced to hang out with his wife, which depresses him more. So we meet Queen Selyse.
Okay.
Who is real fucking weird and tried to have a bunch of kids for him. All of them died except for their daughter, the Princess Shireen. And you'll notice that Selyse is sitting next to these tanks, and those are her dead infants.
Oh.
And she just hangs out with them all day.
That's
and
really
Stannis
fucking weird.
is like, this is not healthy. And she's like, fuck you, I like them. And he's like, you know what?
Okay.
See you later.
You do what you're going to do.
So her face is all fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Because when she was a baby, she was afflicted by a sickness called grayscale.
Okay.
That is almost always untreatable, leads to the madness of the person who has it, and it turns them into a crazed, rabid, crazy person. Somehow they caught it early enough and they stopped the progression of the disease.
Okay.
So
cool.
That's her face. This is why her face is fucked up. It's called grayscale because it gives the skin appearance like they've got
grayscale.
Yes. They're also sometimes called like the stone men because it makes it look like you're made of stone.
Mm-hmm.
So by the way,
Davos had this plan to kill Melisandre when he got back. So he's back in the dungeons. Because Stannis is like, you can't just kill Melisandre.
Come on,
right.
man.
So all this, like, Shireen visits him in the dungeons a lot because they're really close.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Stannis really loves this girl too. But he's such an asshole that he doesn't really know how to, but her mother hates her.
Oh.
Because she's not a boy. Or whatever, because she has grayscale or whatever the fuck. So she goes down and will read to Davos because Davos is illiterate. He can't read.
Yeah.
So she'll bring books down and
tell him stories.
Yeah. In King's Landing, Cersei asks Littlefinger, because he hasn't left for the Vale yet. She's like, listen, I need you to spy on the Tyrells. I do not like how pussy whipped Joffrey is. Like, I need something to work with here to start getting your people together. So later Sansa watches as Loras has a sparring match with his new squire called Olivar.
Oh, they fucking.
And they're sparring, and basically what happens is, like, you want to fuck? Yeah. And they do, right? So it turns out that Olivar is one of the prostitutes that works at one of Littlefinger's brothels. And so that's his spy. Tyrion and Lady Olenna start talking about how they're going to pay for the royal wedding. Because he's like, ma'am, you have no idea how much in debt we are. Yeah, there's nothing. We have nothing. Also, your family is hideously rich. So what are we going to do about this?
Can you throw a little something in there?
Yeah. So they figure out how they're going to pay for it and shit. Loras tells Olivar about Loras's engagement to Sansa and tells Cersei about it. And Cersei's like, oh, fuck no. No way.
No.
And Tywin, she tells her father, Tywin, and Tywin's like, we can't let that happen because if we lose Sansa, we lose the North. Like, it's either she's marrying Joffrey or she's here as our prisoner. Like, one of those things. Or, here's an idea. Tyrion, come over here. Tyrion walks in. He's like, you're going to marry Sansa Stark. And he's like,
what?
Bro, she's like 14 years old. And he's like, did I stutter? And by the way, he's in a committed relationship with Shay.
Yes.
So he's like, this is not happening. And Tywin's like, you don't have a choice. Like, this is happening. After Tywin leaves, Tyrion storms off. It's like, I fucking hate my dad. Cersei's sitting there looking all fucking smug. She starts to gloat. And Tywin turns to her and delivers some bad news. He's like, you're going to marry Loras. And Cersei's like, I'm going to marry Jaime. Wait, no one knows about that.
Wait, I can't tell.
Yeah.
Shit.
So she is pissed. Okay. We're on episode 6. They climb the wall. Well, actually, we started in King's Landing.
So is that the name of the episode?
The Climb.
Oh.
Yeah. So Tywin and Olenna meet about the new marriage plan, right? So he's like, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to marry Sansa, and Cersei's going to marry Loras. And Olenna's like, oh, fuck no. Like, first of all, I know that all of her kids are because of incest.
Yes.
Like, everyone knows this. I don't want that a part of my family. Like, that's just no.
Family tree's getting real fucking confused right here.
So Tywin pays her a visit. And he's like, you are going to let Cersei marry Loras, or I'm going to make him a member of the Kingsguard, which means that he has to give up all of his titles. He can't have kids. He can't get married, right? Like Sir Crispy in House of the Dragon, right? So she's like, okay, well,
shit.
I guess they're getting married. Tywin Tyrion finds out that Cersei wasn't the one that tried to have him killed at the Battle of Blackwater.
Oh.
The guy that attacked him from the Kingsguard, Joffrey did.
Oh.
And he's like, that little cunt.
I would not be surprised if that's a direct quote.
Yeah. Tyrion breaks the wedding news to Sansa. And he's like, I'm so sorry.
This is not ideal for anyone, but here we are.
And she's like, I'm not a fan of this. And he's like, I got to tell you, neither am I. And then his lover walks in and he's like, neither is she. None of us are happy with this. Isn't this great? So the Riverlands. Arya is hanging out with Gendry in the Brotherhood Without Banners. And fucking Melisandre shows up.
Uh-oh.
And was like, I'm going to buy Gendry. Just going to buy him.
I need that guy.
And they're like, okay, we actually need the money.
Sure. Well, here's the price.
Yeah. Because they're going to, they're going to try to fight a war to save whoever the fuck they're doing. They're on some holy thing, you know. And Arya is pissed. And she confronts Melisandre, and she's like, if you don't stop this, you're going to make it onto a list that I say every fucking night. You don't want to be on that list. And
Melisandre's like, what's with this small, sassy child?
Yeah. So she looks down at Arya and has this weird look of like recognition.
Mm-hmm.
And she says to her, we'll meet again. I see a darkness in you. And in that darkness, eyes staring back at me. Brown eyes, green eyes, blue eyes. Eyes you'll shut forever. And Arya's like, what the fuck does that mean? And she's like, shh, I have to go now. And she fucks off with Gendry. So Arya's like, guess you're going on the list then. So Walder Frey has written to Robb. And
dear Robb, what the fuck? I thought we had a deal.
Yeah, he's like, here are my demands to forgive you, and then I'll help you take Casterly Rock. 1, you come to my house and issue a formal apology, and then Edmure will marry one of my daughters. And Robb's like, deal.
Okay.
That's fucking okay. That's easy.
Nobody likes that guy. Sure.
So at Harrenhal, Roose Bolton has dinner with Jaime. And he's like, okay, I'm going to let you go to King's Landing as long as you tell your dad that I'm not responsible for cutting your hand off. Because if he thinks that's me, I'm a fucking dead man. Yeah. So can you please tell him I'm not the one that cut your hand off?
Just let him know.
Yeah. And he's like, you know what, deal. And he's like, oh, and Brienne stays with me because she's arrested for abetting treason or whatever. And he's like, not ideal, but okay.
Okay.
In the north, that kid Jojen has a vision of Jon on the wrong side of the wall surrounded by enemies. And then he has a seizure. And Bran's like, the fuck's wrong with him? And his sister's like, yeah, he has seizures. He's sick. He's probably going to die.
Yeah.
So elsewhere, Theon is being hideously tortured by Ramsay. We find out this guy he's with. His name is Ramsay.
They're up north.
Oh, yeah, they are. You're right.
Further north?
Oh, they are way.
Yeah, they're there.
This is Ramsay Bolton. Actually, it's Ramsay Snow. Do you remember what that means?
That he's a bastard.
Yes. He is the son of Roose Bolton, the guy that's in charge of the forces at Harrenhal. And
I'm guessing he is a bastard in more ways than one.
Yeah, he's flaying Theon's fingers. I mean, it's real grim. It's disgusting. So beyond the wall, Sam and Gilly stop to camp. Because remember, they're like, nah, we're done. We're going to go back to Castle Black. We'll figure it out later.
Yep.
No more White Walkers. No more.
We're not doing this.
Yeah.
We'll be over there.
Sam shows Gilly. He's like, hey, I found all this dragon glass, all these dragon glass daggers. And she's like, that's really cool. Why the fuck are you showing this to me? Jon, Tormund, and Ygritte get to the point of the wall where they're going to climb, which is between these two holdouts. That's where they're going to climb.
Sure.
Okay. And then they prepare to climb the wall. in the north, John. Oh no, they do climb the wall. I'm sorry. They climb the wall and they get over it. I need to move them.
And they're down here now.
They're right next to Castle Black.
Huh. Good for them.
And they take up position and await Mance Raider's signal. Elsewhere, Theon is still being hideously tortured. He tortures him with prostitutes. And you're like, how do you torture someone with prostitutes? This is how he does it. The prostitutes come in. They wake him up. He's in bad shape already.
Yeah.
They take their clothes off. They're rubbing up on him. He is a man, so he gets a little excited. And then Ramsay tortures him. Like it's a weird like
Is this part where he gets his dick cut off?
Yes.
Ah, yeah.
Yep, cuts his dick straight the fuck off.
It's gross.
So, OSHA, this is with these guys over here.
Every time you say that, I think of OSHA, like the government organization.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's spelled the same too. So OSHA finds out that Bran and Jojen plan to go north of the wall. And it was like, are you fucking crazy?
You can't even walk. Yeah. You have seizures all the time.
Also, do you know why I left the like beyond the walls? Because there are fucking ice zombies up there. Yeah. And she tells a story about how her husband died and then got up and tried to kill her.
Oh, it's pleasant.
And she had to kill
kill him again.
Yeah. So in Yunkai.
Where the fuck is that?
It's over here.
Oh, okay.
It's where they are.
Oh yeah, Yunkai.
Because they're thinking about she's not thinking about it. She's like, I want the city. We're gonna go and free the slaves. She pulls up to Yunkai. And it turns out in Yunkai they don't make soldier slaves, they make sex slaves. Ah. That's their thing, right?
Yeah.
And
it's the corner of the market that they've cornered.
So they're really well fortified. They can't just go in. And so Jorah and Barristan is like, so if we attack them, they chip away at our army. They fight us with guerrilla tactics. We take heavy losses. And Daenerys is like, I don't fucking care. And she sends a message to the masters of Yunkai. It was like, surrender or you will suffer the same fate as Astapor. So the slave masters are like, we should talk.
Yeah.
And so they send one of the wise masters of Yunkai to treat with Daenerys.
Okay.
This motherfucker with all the mascara. His name's Razdal. And he's carried in on a litter by slaves and shit. Yep. He's got these big flowy clothes and shit on. And Daenerys is waiting to meet with him under this pavilion on like a little throne. And she's like flanked by her dragons and shit. It's so badass. And so he brings this chest of gold and he's like, I will give you all this money and all the ships you want to invade Westeros if you just get the fuck out of here. If you just
fuck off and don't commit.
And Daenerys is like, I have a counteroffer. You can free the slaves or I'll fucking kill you. And the slave master storms out. And before they go, by the way, they try to take the gold back. They're like, well, if you're taking this. And
nope, that's mine now.
Fucking Drogon jumps in front of him and is like, go ahead and try to touch this fucking gold, see what happens. So Arya now hates the Brotherhood Without Banners because they sold Gendry to Melisandre.
Sure.
Right? So she runs away. So she runs away, whereas she's here.
Yeah.
She runs away and is immediately captured by Sandor Clegane.
This fucking guy.
Who is just waiting for her, right?
It's like, I knew you were going to do that.
So Robb starts his journey north to the Twins with his wife and his mother. Actually, like all these guys are going.
Oh, God.
I knew this was going to happen.
What did you do?
Hold on. Let me fix it. Send it to back.
Go.
So all of these guys are going to the twins.
All the way up there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and his wife, Talisa's pregnant.
Ah. They've been getting busy.
Oh, yeah, because Rob's hot. And she's all over that.
Mm-hmm.
So JB and Qyburn are now on their way to King's Landing, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's just going to go with, because he wants to make sure he doesn't die on the road.
Sure, yeah.
Jamie can't stop thinking about Brienne. And so he turns around and goes back and he's like, I don't care what they say. We're taking her with us. They get there. They have her in this like makeshift arena fighting a fucking bear. And they have her in this weird dress and she has a wooden sword. And Jamie's like,
what the fuck?
What is happening here? And they're just doing it for entertainment.
Yeah.
So Jamie orders them to stop. They won't stop. So Jamie just gets into the pit to save her. He jumps down there. She's like clawed to hell.
Yeah.
And she's like, you have one fucking hand, so you're going to die now too. So good job. But they realize they can't let Jamie get hurt. So they have to stop. So they kill the bear. And Jamie takes Brienne with him. He's like, fuck you guys, we're going to King's Landing. In King's Landing, Tyrion, Sansa, and Shay are all pissed about the wedding, right? Okay.
Like, this is bullshit. Fuck everything.
We're getting to the end here. We might go a little over, but we started kind of late. Actually, this might actually be timed out perfectly for 2 hours. So Arya is now Sandor's prisoner. It turns out he's taking Arya to the twins.
Ah. That's convenient-ish.
And she's like, where the fuck are you taking me? And he's like, I'm taking you to your mother.
Huh.
And what I'm hoping will happen is she'll give me some money when I give you to her.
Yeah.
But like, I tried to rescue your sister. He doesn't really say this. I'm saying this to remind you. He was going to rescue Sansa and take her back to Winterfell.
Didn't really work out that way.
But he's taking Arya now to be with Catelyn, right? So in Yunkai, the Masters of Yunkai have hired a mercenary group called the Second Sons. And they're like, we have a Daenerys Targaryen problem. So they meet up with the captains. And there are 3 captains. One of them is called Dario Naharis. This is one of 2 actors that plays Dario Naharis. Ed Skrein, who is the bad guy in Rebel Moon.
Oh, yeah, I guess he was.
Yeah, he's got that face. So they meet with Daenerys. And Daenerys is like, I know they hired you to kill me, but why don't we actually have an alliance? And they're like, no. And then they leave. So that night, Daenerys gets into the bathtub, fucking titties out and everything. And a man dressed as an unsullied guard just breaks in. He takes his helmet off, and it's Dario Naharis. And he's holding a satchel, right? And he's like, so we talked a little bit more about your proposal, and I was ordered to come and assassinate you. And she was like, this is a weird way for you to I'm not going to lie.
Ordinarily, assassins don't announce their plans, but go on.
So what the fuck is happening here? And he's like, well, it turns out we had philosophical differences with each other about how beautiful you are. And he tips the fucking bag over, and the heads of the other captains roll out. And he kneels before her, and he's like, I swear fealty to you. I am fucking yours. And I will also just say, entirely unrelated, I'm a huge fan of your titties.
You're saying nice tits.
And she's kind of like, you're actually pretty hot too.
Cool.
So Melisandre has taken Gendry back to Dragonstone. This gets so weird. Okay. Poor Gendry is just, he's never seen fancy shit before, you know. It's just he's very impressed by everything. Stannis tells Davos that he's like, if you stop trying to kill Melisandre, I'll let you go. Just stop trying to kill her. And he's like, okay, fine. He's like, okay, you can get out. So he does. All right. So Melisandre takes Gendry into the royal bedroom.
Okay.
And she's like showing him around, and
he's like, this so much shit here and all this gold.
This is weird.
And he turns around and she's just like,
here's my titties.
Here, look at me naked. Do you want to fuck? And he's like, well, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
I think I do.
Yeah.
And she's like, great.
Fantastic.
And so she puts him on the bed, ties him up, and he's like, oh, I've heard about shit like this.
This was not how I saw this going, but I'm kind of into it.
And pulls out a box. And he's like, okay.
Okay, that is a little weird.
Opens it, and there are leeches. She starts dropping leeches on him. And he's like, this.
Okay.
Nope.
This is officially crossed the line.
I don't want let me go.
What's my safe word?
Yep. And she puts one on his dick for whatever reason. And then she collects them all up. Later, while Melisandre and Stannis stand in front of like a brazier with a fire, Stannis starts to say some names. He says, the usurper Robb Stark. And then she throws a leech into the fire and it burns up. The usurper Balon Greyjoy, who's Theon's father, throws a leech into the fire. The usurper Joffrey Baratheon throws a leech into the fire. In King's Landing, Tyrion and Sansa have a royal wedding.
Oh.
And Joffrey is a huge cunt the entire time.
Of course.
It was making fun of Tyrion. He makes it all about him, and he's just so fucking
just
terrible.
Doing what he does.
So they're at their wedding feast. Tyrion is piss drunk because he doesn't want to do this. Sansa doesn't want to do it. Joffrey demands that there is a bedding ceremony. And like Tywin's like, stop it, kid.
Can you not?
And he's like, no, I'm going to watch them fuck. And Tyrion takes a knife he's eating with and slams it on the table and says, you'll be fucking your bride with a wooden cock. And the whole room just is like,
can he do that?
Yes.
I don't think he can do that.
Joffrey is enraged, but Tyrion apologizes and is able to pretend like it was because of his drunkenness. And is like, I guess I better take my wife back to blah, 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 blah. So he takes her back to the room. And like Sansa goes to take her clothes off. And
like, no, we don't do that here.
Yeah, he's like, stop. He's like, I will never touch you if you're not willing. If you are, and you're old enough.
I mean, I kind of talk to Shay about that, but
Yeah, but also have a duty. We have to make kids and blah, blah, blah. But you have my word that will never happen here. Like you're safe here. That will never happen. And he passes out on the couch.
Huh.
Turns out Tyrion is
good guy,
kind of a gentleman.
Huh.
Sam and Gilly, another night of camping with their baby, who doesn't have a name yet, by the way.
Well, Gilly's baby.
Yeah. There they are. Okay. They like build a fire and shit. Sam opens up to her about his father and how terrible he is. And while they're talking, shit around them starts to freeze.
He's like, wow, yeah, a shitty father, huh?
Right.
Tell me more.
Yes. And they start to notice a bunch of crows everywhere and shit starts to freeze. And then there's a White Walker walking toward the child because contractually...
Yeah, that's my kid.
Right. So Sam notices that the White Walker is going to go after the kid. And he finds this like this bravery somewhere and takes the dragon glass dagger out of his bag, not thinking it'll do anything, stabs him in the back, and it immediately kills the White Walker, just explodes into ice. And he's like, okay then.
That's pretty cool.
Okay, we're almost done. I can get this done in 10 minutes.
All right.
Okay. So this is the episode I was telling you about.
Where everybody dies?
The episode that...
I think I've heard of this. The Red Wedding?
No.
No.
It's called The Reigns of Castamere.
Okay.
But you're not wrong. I'll explain.
Okay.
So Daenerys sends Jorah, Grey Worm, and Daario. Because now these guys are
they're her guys.
Yeah, they're Daenerys' dudes. She sends them in at night to Yunkai. They kill the soldiers and they take over the town. It's almost all of it's done off screen.
Yeah.
because they're like, we don't have the budget for this.
Yeah.
Sam and Gilly are almost at the wall. And I've told you that Sam is like really smart, right?
Yeah.
He's read like a lot of books and shit. And he's like telling her all about all these books and shit that he's read. And she thinks she's a wizard because she's like, how could you learn all that shit from books? He's like, well, step one is you have to learn how to read.
I mean, if you were aware of the scientific method in like the 1300s, people would think you were a wizard too.
Yeah. So they're getting along really well. So Brandon Company are traveling north, and it turns out several times during the show, so many of these groups come so close to one another and never see each other.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, this is Bran's brother.
Yes.
Right? Like, it would be a huge deal.
Yeah.
But they're just ships passing in the night. We discover that Bran can warg.
Okay.
He wargs into Hodor and controls him. And
kind of weird.
Yeah, the free folk with Jon go to raid an innocent group of people. Jon can't do it.
Yeah.
And he does something to warn them, and then he runs. And Ygritte's very sad because they were going to be free folk together, and now she's got to kill him. Right?
Yeah, that was her boyfriend.
Right. Because he's like, they're going to attack they're going to attack Castle Black. I've got to tell them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the Riverlands, Robb and his army have arrived at the Twins. So, real quick, this is a insanely strategically important area because of where it's located.
Yeah.
This is the best place to cross this river to get into the north, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it is controlled by Walder Frey.
Is that fucking
Filch?
Filch, yeah.
From Harry Potter, yes. And let me tell you, Chris, this guy's a huge con. So they get there, he receives them. He's just a nasty old man with them and is like checking Robb's wife out and is making all these like obscene jokes and shit. He has like, I don't know, 12 daughters and he doesn't know their names, and like he's like trying to guess their names, and he's just a huge piece of shit altogether. So it turns out, so Edmure is freaking out because he's like, well, what if all of his daughters are really ugly?
Yeah.
So it turns out that the woman that he marries isn't. She's gorgeous. And he's like, yes.
Good for him.
Fucking great. So they have their wedding and it's really nice. Yeah. And he's fucking stoked. Right? So they are carried off to their wedding bed during the feast. And Robb and his wife and Catelyn and Bruce Bolton is up here, by the way. He's up here to hang out. It's a wedding.
Yeah.
Right? So the Blackfish during the wedding feast is like, you know what? I really have to piss.
Understandable.
See you guys later. He goes out to take a piss. The festivities wind down. And the band that's like in the loft starts to play kind of a sad song. And Catelyn notices that the song is the Reigns of Castamere, which is like the Lannister family song. And she looks over at Roose Bolton and notices that he's got chainmail under his fancy clothes. And it's a trap. And the musicians pull out fucking crossbows and they're shooting people. Walder Frey's guys are killing people. One of Walder Frey's sons grabs Talisa and stabs her repeatedly in the stomach and then slits her throat. Robb is shot a bunch of times with a crossbow, but he isn't dead. Outside, Arya and the Hound have arrived. They're at the fucking front gate. And the Stark army outside, who's encamped outside of the twins, are they're just being massacred because they're at a wedding.
Yeah.
Right. And Arya is able to sneak away and get in. So inside, Robb has realized that his wife is dead, and their child, their unborn child, and is despondent. Just
also, he got shot like half a dozen times.
Just weeping over her body. Catelyn's been shot a couple times, and she's like, "Everybody, hold on a fucking second." And she grabs one of Walder Frey's daughters and holds a knife to her throat, and she's like, "You let Robb go, and I won't." It's Walder Frey's wife, who's a very, very young girl. It's really gross, and is like, "You let him out of here, keep me as your prisoner, and I won't kill your wife." And Walder Frey is like, "I'll just get another one." And Roose Bolton walks up to Robb Stark and says, "The Lannisters send their regards," and stab him in the heart.
Jeez.
And he's fucking dead.
Oh, wow.
So is she.
It's a bright and happy ending to this season.
Catelyn watches this happen, cuts Walder Frey's wife's throat, and since she's not holding anything, one of his sons walk up and slits her throat, and she dies.
Well, fuck.
Yep.
And presumably Arya saw most or all of this.
No. She is outside the castle, and they've taken Robb's body. They've cut his head off. They kill his wolf, Greywind. They cut Greywind's head off, and they crudely attach it to Robb's body, and they parade him around on a horse.
Jeez.
And Arya sees the whole thing. And Sandor finds her and he knocks her out. It's the only way he gets her to not go apoplectic and kill somebody. So he knocks
time and place, girl.
Yeah, he knocks her unconscious, and he's like, "We're getting the fuck out of here." Right? Episode 10. Arya wakes up to see let me backtrack. She wakes up. Okay. I don't know what this note means. Oh yeah, sorry. She wakes up, and Arya, having seen what they did to Robb's body, is just blank, just just blank.
Yeah.
Right. They escape. They get out. They pretend to be not Starks, pretty much. The deal here, by the way, is now Roose is warden of the North. He's in control of Winterfell. He's warden of the North. The Dreadfort, Theon is still being tortured. He spends this entire
North.
He spends this entire season being tortured.
Jesus. Sucks to be him.
Yeah, Theon begs for death. He's just fucking kill me. And Ramsay renames him Reek because that's how he reeks. And he beats him and demands to know what his name is until Theon answers Reek. And so that's his thing now. On Pike in the Iron Islands, his dad's picture should be here. Balon Greyjoy is sent in the mail Theon's dick by Ramsay.
That's so fucked up.
Yep. And Balon's like, "What the fuck do I care? He's not a man now." And Yara is like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And she's like, "My right hand to God. I'm taking 50 of our best men, and I'm going to go fucking save my brother." And he's like,
"Go for it.
Have fun." So the Riverlands, Arya and the Hound are riding away from the twins, and they encounter a group of Frey men who are bragging about Robb's murder. And just something comes over Arya. She steals the Hound's one of his daggers and just fucking murders, in this group of Frey guys, murders one of the guys. and he has to kill the rest of them because she doesn't care if she's killed. She just wants to kill somebody,
It's
right?
Like, well, shit. I guess we're doing this.
So as the guy that Arya attacked is dying, she looks down at him and whispers Valar Morghulis, which is the all men must die thing. It's this turning point for Arya where like something in her changes and she's just a different person.
It's shit, I can kill people.
Yeah. King's Landing, news of the wedding, which is now being called the Red Wedding, reaches Joffrey, Tywin, and the Small Council because they're having a meeting, right?
And presumably Joffrey is like, dude, that sounds so cool.
Yep.
I wish I was there.
Tyrion puts together by how they're talking that Tywin is responsible for everything that happened. He pulled everything together. Joffrey is fucking elated. And he's like, this is fucking great. I'm going to have my wedding and I'm going to serve Sansa Robb Stark's head. Like, wouldn't that be fucking great? And everyone at the table is like really creeped out.
That's really fucked up, dude.
And Cersei was like, "Oh, he's just joking." And Joffrey's like, "No, I'm not joking.
No, he's
like,
completely serious.
No way." And Tywin is like, "That will not happen." And Joffrey is like, "I'm the fucking king." He's like, "Sit the fuck down." And Joffrey just goes apoplectic, like freaking the fuck out, screaming, telling Tywin that, you know, where were you when my father, who is not really his dad, was winning the rebellion and blah, blah, you stupid old man, blah, 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 and screams, "I am the king." And Tywin answers, "Any man who says I am the king is no king. Go the fuck to bed." And he's like, I'm not tired. And Cersei is like, "You better get out of here."
Yeah.
So like,
Tywin's like, that was not a request.
Yeah. They like have to sedate him. He's so out of his mind, right? Tywin orders Tyrion to start making babies. And Tyrion's like, great. So Tyrion goes back home hoping to be the one to tell Sansa about Robb, but it turns out that she already knows. So also Varys tries to bribe Shay to leave because of the problem she's going to create, and she refuses. Unknown to everyone, Jaime, Brienne, and Qyburn arrive at King's Landing.
Okay.
And Jaime is reunited with Cersei, and she's like, "What the fuck happened to you?" So we're almost done.
Okay.
At the wall, Bran and company run into Sam and Gilly.
Oh.
So Bran, I'm just going to pull him up here, but it's all these guys, not these guys.
Yeah.
Sam recognizes Bran's wolf and recognizes Hodor.
Yeah.
And Sam's like, "We just got attacked by a fucking White Walker, but crazy shit. Dragon glass kills him. Have a couple of dragon glass daggers." And he's like, we're going to the wall. We're going to Castle Black. And Bran's like, "We're going north of the wall." And Sam's like, "Why?"
I would not do that.
And he's like, "You know what? I don't have time for this. See you later." And they part ways.
Okay.
So Sam is going to Castle Black. Bran's going to the wall. Sam gets to Castle Black and he talks to Maester Aemon. And he's like, "Dude, the White Walkers are fucking real. And we have a huge problem because it isn't just a couple of them. They have a whole fucking army." And so Maester Aemon orders Sam to send all 44 of their ravens south to everyone they can think of to deliver the message the White Walkers have returned. And they do. The fucking 44 scrolls, fucking put them on the birds, and they're like, "Shoo, fucking go."
Yeah.
So in Dragonstone.
Okay.
Davos is learning how to read. And he finds out that they want to sacrifice Gendry, all of him now, to do some more dark magic. They want to kill him. So
It's like, what the fuck?
Davos gives him a rowboat, and he's like, King's Landing is that way. And
Good luck.
Yep. And Gendry's like, well, thanks, man. See you later.
Thanks, bye.
And he rows the fuck away. And he's like, I'm never fucking a woman again. She's ruined it for me. Never doing it. And Stannis sentences Davos to death. He's like, dude,
I told you, just don't
stop doing shit like this.
Yeah, just stop.
Yeah. So he sentences Davos to death.
Mm-hmm.
But like right as that's happening, a raven shows up with a scroll from Castle Black. They read it. Fucking White Walkers are on their way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Stannis comes to this realization that this War of the Five Kings that they have going on is irrelevant. None of it matters. So Stannis is going to abandon his claim on the throne and march north to help the Night's Watch.
Oh, good for him.
And Melisandre is like, this is a part of my vision. So also you cannot execute Davos.
Yeah.
He's kind of a cool guy. Okay, so Ygritte catches up with Jon, who's running for his life. Shoots him a few times with arrows, conspicuously in spots where he's not killed. He's badly injured, but he makes it back to Castle Black. Young Kai, this is how the season ends. Young Kai, Daenerys pulls all the slaves and Young Kai out and notifies them that they are free. And the crowd surrounds her, and they're all reaching to touch her hair, and they lift her up and everything. And so she's got an entire other city worth of slaves who are just willing to die for her, right? And this came under a lot of criticism because it, like, the whole scene has these like kind of icky colonism white savior, because like all the slaves are brown people, right? And Daenerys is very white, and it's all of them adoring her for saving him, and it's kind of weird. But the point is that she started out
with like two dudes. Now she has considerably more than that.
Well, she turned out as a slave to her brother. She started as a slave to her brother, and then a slave to Khal Drogo, then fell in love with him, then got 3 dragons, lost her husband, now has an army of Unsullied, has Jorah, fucking Dario Naharis, and Barris and Selmy. Her like Missandei is like her new friend. She's like, can we just be like best friends? And she's like, fucking great.
Sure,
okay. And she also like, she's freed and she has conquered and freed 2 cities, and all the slaves love her.
She's doing okay.
Yeah, she's doing pretty well. Yeah. So, all right, that's the end of season 3. Next week will be season 4, which
is it going to be as long as this one?
I don't think so, because I don't think as much stuff happens. Okay. I think the battle at Castle Black happens. Like that's the big thing. I think the rest of it is just intrigue and know. So anyway, if you're still with us, by the way, we had quite a few viewers there for a bit. If you're still with us, thank you so much. This will show up on YouTube as an edited. I'll cut it down a little bit. Yeah. I'll make it fit the 2 hours. Actually, this was about perfectly 2 hours because we started about 10 minutes late. So,
yeah.
We'll see you next week for Buzz Recap.
Season 4.
I can tell I'm a little buzzed because I'm having trouble like figuring out where my jaw's supposed to go when I talk. Yeah. I'm not like full blown drunk, but yeah. Season 4 next week. And then our live show before that at 6. I think we might do a Star Wars story time next week.
Yeah, because we have a little bit of downtime.
Yeah.
Not a lot of downtime, but a little bit of downtime before I go.
So anyway, we'll see you guys later. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.